corporate versus entrepreneurship is like checkers versus chess. I was playing chess with checkers rules is essentially what was happening. And it was until I really said, stop, learn how to play the new game, that's when things started changing to me. The business grew from 0 to $1 million its first year via word of mouth. Like no ads, no nothing, via word of mouth, because I got to be known for something. And it was one of those things that we reacted fast, and it could have been easy to say to your team, oh, this could be a big opportunity for us, suck it up and get back in there.
Welcome back to the Founders Hustle. This podcast is all about talking with founders and hearing about their entrepreneurial journey, including lessons they've learned along the way. Today, I'm talking with Mark Stern, founder and CEO of the award-winning Custom Box Agency, who helps brands turn digital touchpoints into unforgettable customer experiences and breaks down the mind shift entrepreneurs need to scale. So welcome to the show, Mark. How are you doing this morning?
I'm thrilled to be here. It's good seeing you again. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to me a little bit. Give me a brief overview of your business. What do you do? Who do you serve? And what makes it so darn special?
Yeah, so my business is Custom Box Agency. And where it really started was I was a corporate junkie. I used to joke and say I was the poster child of corporate America, climbed the ladder and was as pure of a loyalist as you can. And then had the moment that I've always had that entrepreneurial itch and that entrepreneurial spirit since I was a kid. But when I finally made the leap from corporate to entrepreneurship, one of my biggest frustrations that I had was I felt like business owners and people were making it too hard for their customers or clients to get a result. And it started with me just saying, I just wish you would send me everything I needed. And so that it kind of started as out of necessity. And we're totally a business that was incubated and came to life during COVID when we were all at home in quarantine. But what we really do is it's all about the customer journey. We say there's 3 types of campaigns. Your goal could be customer acquisition, or it could be onboarding and delivering your services to your clients, or it could be retention. And what we like to do with business owners is how do I get into your business, help you optimize the journey, and then literally take what you're doing and turn it into a physical product. And I'm just holding up a box that is an example of our work, but it's truly about engineering intentionality and giving people the tools and resources they need. And we love gamification and what we do, but it's taking your genius, turning it into a physical form so it can buy back your time and really scale you up in a way that you can have a bigger impact and help your customers get results faster.
Interesting. So, and what you do is very visual, right?
Very visual.
I mean, what prompted this idea? Because I look at what you do and I see it as brilliance and I see it as well, yeah, duh, this is why not? But what went through your head? What made you think yeah, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And how do you differentiate that?
It all really does stem on this idea of, how are we setting up our customers for success? Is there a clear definition of success? And the example that I gave initially, when we were starting this business was, if you're telling me I should print out this workbook or these worksheets, what you're assuming is I have a printer, it has ink, it has paper, it's hooked up to my computer. When it gets printed, I'm organized with all of it. So there's just a lot of things that happen. And in many different forms than just printing out a workbook, we do these things to our clients and our customers that is almost like putting up hurdles before they can get started out of the gates with what it is that you're asking them to do. And so if I send you all the tools and resources, what I effectively do is I remove the obstacles that may prevent you from getting started today. And people have the tendency to say, someday I'm going to get to it. Someday I'm going to print it out. Someday I'll go get all the things I need. And when you send me everything that I need, to be ready to go out of the gates, it fundamentally changes the dynamic of the interaction. It's like playing Monopoly, and imagine getting the Monopoly game board, taking the top off, and it says, thank you for purchasing Monopoly. Please go to this website to print out all the tools and resources or go buy these things. We want to have this experience. Game night just got blown up. But the cool thing about Monopoly is they literally give you everything you need to have the experience out of the gates. And so that really was the fundamental where it started. And then as we started getting into this idea of, can we engineer intentionality? These are not swag boxes. We say swag means stuff without a goal. Stop sending people stuff. Literally give them the things that they need. So if they need a workbook, give them the workbook. Make it a recipe that they can follow, a journey map step by step, so they can see their transformation in real time towards the outcome outcome as to why they started working with you in the first place. So that's really where it just started. And this whole idea of this age of AI that we live in, you're seeing this rise of digital distrust. I don't know if you've seen any Facebook reels or TikTok reels that you look at and you go, is this a stop the scroll? Like, is this actually real, or just content that we're getting that all of a sudden doesn't feel like it has that human connection when you're reading it? The cool thing about something physical is, the bet that we're having right now is analog is coming back in such a big way. Analog could not be more relevant now than it ever has been before. And so if you have a digital product, especially something that heavily uses AI, one of the easiest ways to stand out in the marketplace is to tie it with something physical and bring the two domains together in a really powerful way. So that's kind of like our playground in terms of how we start to think about the power of physical. But that's just where it really just started. It was really out of necessity of me saying, I want to do this thing, but I feel like I have to run through hoops to get started.
So share with me one of your biggest success stories. Talk to me about a client that has started with your service. What have you done for them, and what have they seen in retrospective of using you?
When we think about a box experience, what we want to see is when you open up the box, there's always certain pieces that I want to see as part of our core formula. A welcome note, a getting started guide that prepares you for the journey that you're about to go on, a one-page journey map that breaks down your process into phases, and then all the tools and resources that you need set up out of the gates. The one I was just holding up, this is a client in the credit repair space. And we've done a couple of box experiences for them. They have a SaaS product for you to help optimize or repair your credit, or you can launch a credit repair business where you can help other people. And so they have proprietary software. Any SaaS player, part of what you're trying to do is the first 15 days or 30 days, you may offer in the first month some degree of a trial. And the question is, if I can get you through the trial using the platform, the likelihood that you're going to stay and continue to utilize the platform increases exponentially. So essentially what we did is, this is an acquisition play that we did. And we went through and said, how do we, in the first 30 days, get them to go through the process and get everything set up within the online portal, so they're using this software platform and then starting to use it with other people. And so we gamified it. We had themes for week 1, 2, 3, 4 as you went through the box experience. What's been cool about this product is I think they've pushed through almost 10,000 units over the last 2 to 3 years. And their business has grown. I've watched their business grow exponentially, but as a front end play to get more people into the system has been a really powerful means. We've seen people leverage this same model in a virtual event capacity. So a lot of people, especially during COVID and a post-COVID era, the live event model kind of gotten blown up because no one could come together for a live event, but virtually it's a different experience. And so one of the most powerful things to do is sitting and just staring at a screen for 2 or 3 days as you have different people talking can be really hard. But if we increase the interaction, and this is one of the things that we did for an event called Financial Freedom 101, Penelope Jane Smith, she's absolutely incredible, real prosperity Inc. is her business. But what ended up happening is not only when they received the box did it start to see the journey that they're about to go on with her virtual event, but when she introduced this into the equation, she saw higher show-up rates because people literally had something to interact with as they went through the experience and build out. And then she doubled her back-end conversions. And that is something that is so significant. And really the only piece that changed was sending them a very intentionally curated experience. So as people were going through, 1, she was being positioned as their trusted mentor. 2, they were getting an outcome in real time. So when she made the offer, it was just this beautiful, natural next step for her people to go into. So across so many different domains, the intentionality of the experience is so important. And if you can get me or your customer or client into momentum, the question that they're constantly asking is, are you my right fit mentor to help guide me through this? Because there's a lot of people who teach what a lot of us do. The thing that really makes you unique is you and what you do and how you show up in terms of that experience. And so that's what's been so cool about just bringing physical in, is it allows you to help people get results faster.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I just love that you're bringing the whole physical world back into, breaking away from that digital aspect. Rewind the clock a little bit, back to your beginnings. What are some of the hurdles that you had to face as you were starting to launch your business?
Yeah, it's such a good question. Okay, the biggest hurdle I faced was when I was in corporate America. It's easy to say, oh, I'm a high performer. I get good accolades in my annual reviews, but I thought that would translate a lot more literally when I became an entrepreneur. And when I jumped into the game to start a business, the biggest thing that I struggled with was I was applying a corporate mindset to a different game. And it wasn't until I finally took a step back and said, Mark, corporate versus entrepreneurship is like checkers versus chess. I was playing chess with checkers rules is essentially what was happening. And it was until I really said, stop, learn how to play the new game, that's when things started changing to me. So I had to humble myself in a big way. And the cool thing about this is I've heard people say, oh, when I pivot, I push the reset button. You never push the reset button. Essentially what happens is the skills that you built to date are your competitive edge. So you learn to play the new game. And then once you understand how to play the new game, my skills that I had at Deloitte or in business school or in my career life before starting a business literally were the biggest competitive edge that I could bring to this new game once I learned how to play it. So that was for me, I would say one of the biggest lessons. The second one that I'll put on, because I think it's just as equally as important. When I was in corporate America, they celebrated me for being the world's greatest generalist. Deloitte wanted me to be good at everything. Entrepreneurship does not celebrate being good at everything. Entrepreneurship wants you to be known for something. And it was my mentor back in 2020 who looked at me and said, I see you in the marketplace and you're building at the time I had a business in virtual events. And then I started building this custom box business. And he's like, you're confusing people. Are you the custom box guy? Are you the virtual event guy? Because you're 50-50. So no one knows who you truly are. And I went for a walk and came back, and you would think at the beginning of COVID, you have experience in virtual events. Now's the time to just double down on it. And the reality was everyone became a virtual event expert at the beginning of COVID. And there was something that was holding me back, but these box experiences were interesting. And the pivot at the beginning of COVID by going all in on custom boxes was the difference between every person in the virtual event space being a competitor to me versus now being a potential strategic partner, because we offered a service that could complement what they were doing. And you could see that because the business grew from 0 to $1 million its first year via word of mouth, no ads, no nothing, via word of mouth, because I got to be known for something.
That's fantastic. So really, you found your niche and you doubled down, and then you partnered with who you once were trying to be with the virtual trade shows. That really is brilliant. Talk to me a little bit about mentorship. Almost every business that I'm talking to has a mentor in their journey.
Oh, gosh.
Did you specifically search out for a mentor? Did they fall into place? But talk to me about who they were, how you found them, and what value they brought to you.
Judy, such a good question. And I cannot be a bigger advocate that here's the thing. Entrepreneurship, it's a crazy game that we play. And for a lot of us, all we are limited to is what's between our two ears. And so when you're stuck with the stories inside your head, and so much of what I've learned in this game is, what are your beliefs? Because at the beginning of this journey, one of my beliefs was only I can do this thing in my business. Only I can do this thing. And my team's belief was only Mark can lead these strategy sessions in that way. We can't do it. And when I shifted my belief to anyone can do this, there's nothing proprietary. And then my team slowly adopted the same belief. Anyone can do this. It was the coolest thing, because all of a sudden I'm seeing the outcome of what my team puts together, and it's so much better than what I would have ever come up with, simply because the paradigm shift of it. So mentorship, to me, what's so critical is there are moments as an entrepreneur, and there's moments that I had, especially in 2020 getting started, where I was like, this is it. This is an obstacle I did not expect to happen. My business is over, because this is a critical part of how we deliver. And I had a mentor who looked at me and he was like, Mark, you could solve this problem in 2 weeks. And it was one of those things. And at the time, we didn't have a warehouse within the business. So we had a third party who we partnered with, and the third party during Q4 of 2020, which is the craziest time of year to ship anything because we're hitting holiday season, Black Friday, Christmas. He came to me and he said, oh, we don't want to fulfill your style of boxes anymore. And we had brought him over 20 clients. So, and on top of that, boxes were getting assembled incorrectly and delivered to market, but we didn't have control over the assembly because we leveraged a third party to assemble according to our instructions. And so all these things were happening that were truly potential risks to the business. So when that happened going into the holiday season, I thought this was it. And the blessing of it was the mentor looked at me and said, you can solve this in 2 weeks. And had he not said that, I ended up saying, okay, we're right now partnered with someone out of state. I need to bring it to Austin, Texas. I need to build this capability. It scared the death out of me to like introduce this new piece that I was like a new business owner, and this is a huge new extension to the business. And it was such a blessing that it was a problem I ended up solving in, I think it was 3 days. Found a strategic partner, was able to rent out warehouse space and build the capabilities. And had I not done that in 2020, that has been such a key revenue driver in our business, but it was because a mentor held a bigger vision for me than I held for myself. And I think that's the biggest thing about mentorship is we need those mentors who can hold a bigger vision than we can for our own selves, because it gives us permission to stretch bigger than what we even think is possible.
Yeah, that is great. Well, and something that you hit on too, and something I'm very curious about your perspective on is that moment may have broken. Many people would have just said, ugh, and complained and never done anything about it. My question to you is, in your opinion, can anybody be an entrepreneur?
It's a good question. I think here's the thing. Is entrepreneurship for everyone? No, I don't think it's for everyone. Can anyone be an entrepreneur? If you're willing to play the game and be willing to, like, again, this is another thing that, like, all these different opportunities, there's a set of rules that you need to learn. And in that sense, if you're willing to learn the rules and navigate it, and this is, I think, to your point about mentorship, it becomes so important, Judy, because with mentors, they're the ones who provide the guide and they can help guide you on the right path when you start to venture off. So is entrepreneurship for everyone? No, but can anyone become an entrepreneur? I think that with the right determination, motivation, anyone can become. This is a game that, and I'll use this as an example. When I was at Deloitte, you'd get staffed on projects in industries that you know nothing about. And the greatest gift that Deloitte taught me is when I first did my first project in the healthcare space and then in the retail space, I didn't have experience in these industries. But what Deloitte taught me was everything can be figure outable. Everything can be like discovered through simple frameworks. And so as I went into new client problems or challenges that I knew nothing about, even though I didn't know the solution on hand, I knew how to approach the problem to get to the result. And it was a fundamental mindset shift to get there, to say, I don't know the answer, but I know how to navigate to get the answer and leveraging the resources out there. If people can build that lens, and anyone can build that lens, but I know a lot of people who look at it and go, oh, I don't know anything about retail, so I'm not your person. It's a very different lens of saying, I may not know, but I know how to approach the problem to get to the solution. So it's a very fundamentally different mindset. And if you can build that, then I truly think anyone could be an entrepreneur.
Excellent. Yeah, great answer to that question. If you could tell your younger self something, this is at the beginning of the career, you just graduated, you're in your early 20s. What advice would you give yourself?
Another good question. Honestly, and the thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is the advice I would give is to trust yourself more.
Okay.
You live with yourself 24/7. And it's so easy. And I have, and so many times in my life, especially through the career, of other people telling me what I should be doing. And you start to pursue this because sometimes we are just looking for someone else. And I see this all the time. I saw it all the time when I was in corporate America, that if you don't know what it is that you want or that you want to do, there's plenty of people who have their own agenda who will tell you exactly what you should be doing. And so what I've learned through this journey, and these are themes that especially even this last year have been very prominent, is there's been times that I may say, I'm not good at sales or I'm not good at marketing. But the reality is, I may rank myself on a scale of 1 to 5 as a 2 or 3 on sales. And the next person that I'm consulting with may say they're on a scale of 1 to 5, a 5, like excellent at sales, but their 5 may be my 1. And so the barometers may not be equal. And so yet I'm like, you're the sales expert and I'm trusting you, but I'm discrediting my own knowledge base. I just have a much higher standard. But if we compared our barometers side by side, you'd realize they're not equal. And I faced that a lot, that I trusted someone and trusted their advice, and it actually, like, energetically something felt off and didn't click. But you look at it and go, well, they're the experts, so I'm just going to trust. And if I could go back to my younger self, I think a lot of us have the tools and resources. We just don't have the confidence to just accept the decision that we have. So that would be the advice I would give, is to be like, you got here, trust your gut, and like energetically, there's been many times in my career that I'm like, logically, this makes sense, but there's something that I feel resistance in, and to not discredit that. And I'll tell you this, 2 years ago, I did something in which my gut told me not to do it, and it backfired in a big way. We took on a client that I knew we should not take on. And within the first 30 days, the client sexually harassed members of my team and did a lot of things that were completely out of line, to which we warned and let them go. And it led us into this battle that took a year to clean up and get dismissed. They got legal involved. And it was one of those things that we did nothing wrong, but it was one of those things that I'm saying, stop looking at the scenario with the client, and the universe just sent you a sign. What's the lesson to learn in this process? And the lesson was, for me, you knew exactly how you should have handled this situation. Your gut told you that this was not a good fit client, but you fell in love with the story of the business that the client was in. And it's kind of funny with, like, the universe has a sense of humor. And so it was a beautiful lesson I needed to learn, but it was not how I wanted it to manifest. But I needed to learn the lesson. And a big part of that lesson was just trust your gut. So that would be a big thing that I would be telling my younger self, is you know what you need to do.
So if you don't mind me asking, what was it? What energy, what gut feeling did you get from that client that told you this wasn't going to be the right fit?
It was from the get-go. It was the conversations we had. And I'll just tell you, like, what the client represented was, the client was in a very well-known top 5 of all time Christmas movie that every household in America knows. And for me, there was this element I can bring to life the movie in a really iconic, beautiful way. But there was something in the interactions that just felt a little off, that it was more talk. And there was, in terms of just the intention behind why they were trying to build this, there was something that there was a disconnect. But in my mind, I'm like, we can create something beautiful and incredible. And this is an opportunity to break into the entertainment industry with a very iconic, well-known movie. And so that was kind of where, like, I think I fell in love with, like, the idea of what we could produce. But at the same time, everything else about the scenario was just like, but there's a disconnect here. And they came and spent a day with me, and it was fine. But then the first 30 days, all the things that happened and that transpired, demanding things out of scope, disrespecting the team, sexually harassing a member of the team. There was all these things that, what it ultimately translated to, and this is an important thing as a business owner, you have a responsibility to protect your team. You have a responsibility to ensure that it is not a hostile work environment. When someone raises their hand with concerns, it's something you just can't take lightly. And so it was this beautiful test of leadership that was happening. And it was one of those things that we reacted fast. And it could have been easy to say to your team, oh, this could be a big opportunity for us, suck it up and get back in there. But essentially, it was not something worth compromising a team that I love. Like, my team is my everything. Team first with anything that we do. I came from a world that was always client first. My belief is it's team first, because if you empower team, they're going to over-deliver for your clients by default. And so my team knows I'd give them the shirt off my back, or give them whatever time they need. So when they're raising concerns, one, it's not something I hear that often. And two, it's something you have to take seriously. And so that was essentially it. Was I fell in love with the story. I knew that there was something off, and I learned a valuable lesson that even though they were only with us for a month and we offered them all their money back, they had a brilliant strategy that they could deploy in the market. Never imagined that the next year of my life I would be dealing with this, and in a way, because we take care of our clients. But it was hard. But I'll also say this: I learned more from that experience than a lot of business masterminds that I ever had been a part of. And I look at it and just back at it and say, this is part of the universe saying, okay, you're about to up level, you're about to ascend in your business. Are your contracts in place to protect your clients and your business? Are there systems in place to protect the team and the team environment? And so it made me ask all these questions that, why, it's not why did this happen to me? It's why did this happen for me? Am I grateful that it happened?
That is interesting. Yeah. Life is a teacher. That is my belief, and you're proving it one and over. But yeah, life is definitely a teacher. But what I really appreciate about you, and I recognize this in the pre-show, you, like myself, when I approached the age 40, I approached it from the standpoint of I was a little overweight, and I thought, man, if I don't lose weight, this is it. Like, I'm going to hit this stage and I'll never be able to lose weight again. I transformed my body back as I entered the 40. And it sounds like you went through that very similar path in pre-show. And I could just hear like you mentally, physically, everything about you is just is fascinating because you're really embracing life. You're embracing energy, embracing the universe. And so talk to me a little bit, if you don't mind, about the journey you went through on a personal level.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you, by the way. I appreciate that so much. So where it started was, to keep it like where my head now that like I've been reflecting is that if you've ever heard the concept, you're only as good as your weakest link. This is something that we've seen manifest in business in many ways. You may have a team member that was amazing at one point in time, but as the business evolved, they may not have evolved with the business in the same capacity and are a weak link in the business. And what we found is sometimes when you remove those weak links, especially if the motivation's not there, you see this ascension that happens. And just taking that same concept, if we are made up of three things, personal, which is your love and relationships, your family, or professional, your business, how you make money, or self, body, mindset, sleep, meditation, relaxation, fitness, nutrition. Those three categories are personal, professional, and self. My business, I was treating world class. My body and self, I was only treating good enough. I had gotten up to 250 pounds during COVID. I'm like right at under 6 feet. It was not muscle. I would have loved to have said it was muscle, but it was not. I could just feel my body breaking down in a way. And then what the catalyst was I read an article that said the average human in the US lives to 78. And at the time I was 39. And so that was the event for me that I woke up and was like, oh my gosh, I'm like halfway done through this adventure of life, assuming that I live the average of 78 years. And when I started to look at myself, if I truly want to take my business to the next level and serve and have a bigger impact, because I see the vision and the momentum of what we're building and see how it helps people, if my body's only good enough, then my business can only be good enough. And so if I can treat my body more world-class, there's a natural thing that happens. It ascends your relationships and it ascends your business. And so when I started taking care of body and going through, which by the way, I could not figure out myself, so I hired a mentor, Maru Stara with Six Pack CEO, brilliant program. His whole thing is we do the thinking around like your health. You just be the CEO of your company. I thought I knew how to be healthy. You think in 40 years on this earth, you know how to navigate and be healthy. The reality was I had no idea how to be healthy. And he started me with blood work and took me through the process. And all of a sudden, when we started optimizing, because I didn't take any supplements, optimizing with supplements and someone holding me accountable, you go from 250s down to right now I'm in the 160s. I'm lean. I can see muscle mass. It's a massive shift in the way that other people see you. And there's just a lot to the equation emotionally, physically, mentally, socially that evolves when you go through that type of transformation. So part of it has been, this is kind of the yin and yang, was there's such a beautiful yin with the body transformation. And then there's a yang and the balance of just things that you deal with. But part of it is, how do you switch this identity to accept who you are now? And for me, it's now in this second half of life. Who is it that you want to be? Because that's a story that we can rewrite any day of the week. So,
well, and that leads me into my next question is, where's Mark heading next? Where is your business heading next? What is your journey? You're just beginning. You're midway through. You've got a long journey to go. What's next?
Oh, so true. This is like, there's so many things I'm so excited about. Physically, I'm almost done with the weight loss. Like just a smidge left. And so physically, I do want to put on some muscle, probably add another 10 or 15 pounds. Business wise, so much of the business has been word of mouth, and that has to stop. We're impacting too many lives. We have a product that truly helps people. And now it's time for me to really step in the limelight. I do a lot of podcasts and I like to do a lot of speaking, but this mission that we're on right now, we need to stop playing quiet, because there's a lot of people this day and age that the need what we have to offer. Something I'm really excited about is one of the things that we built out because we're in the business of product development and physical products is different types of card decks, and card decks is a strategy. We just acquired carddecks.com, and the cool thing about it is it doesn't fundamentally change any way that we deliver our business. But in terms of this age of AI that we live in, where you see this rise of AI, even as something as simple as a card deck that may get people to go from thinking to action, they're a low cost product to produce, high perceived value, especially if you blend physical and digital. And this is something that, like, to get that into our familycarddecks.com and bringing up this concept of how can you really leverage card decks as this unique thing in your business, has brought this new energy that I could not be more excited about, that I didn't expect. And so my team can see that it kind of reminds me of the days that we started Custom Box Agency. And so with this refresh and this reemergence, I want to own the category in a way to help people see, things differently when it comes to physical products.
Who would be an ideal client? What is there a specific industry, size, solution they're trying to solve? Talk to me about who would be a good client for that.
Yeah, the thing I'll anchor on was with anything with a product, especially because, again, we're not swag. We say swag, again, is stuff without a goal. We want the intentionality. And so the case can be made across many, many different facets. We've seen a lot of coaching programs or people in the education space leverage the same methodology. Even SaaS companies, I've seen people in the sales game do it as well. So for us, we need to do a better job niching down. We have worked across so many niches. And this is for anyone in the founder space, niching down is critical and key. The cool thing is, if you understand what people are trying to achieve, we can structure a campaign to help guide towards that result.
So share with the listeners, how do we find your products? How do we find your company? What website?
You can head to customboxagency.com. And I always tell people we love to hear what you're doing. So even if you have an idea and you want to talk it out, come meet with a member of our team. And if we can help you or if we can guide you in the right direction. So customboxagency.com is an easy place. Sign up for a free consultation or hit me up on LinkedIn or Facebook. You're welcome to reach out via Messenger. We love connecting with people.
Excellent, excellent. And I'll drop all of your contact information in the links below in the show notes. But yeah, fantastic. Love the story. Love the advice. Love the lessons that you've learned and shared. A lot of really great stuff. So thank you so much for your time today.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Judy.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Founders Hustle. I would absolutely love to know what resonated with you the most from today's guest. Go ahead and drop me a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Also, if there's a future topic that you'd like me to touch on, go ahead and drop that in the comments as well. But no matter where you're watching or streaming your favorite shows, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on social media. Tell a friend about this. I would love the support. But in the meantime, keep living, keep growing, and keep hustling because you are meant to do great things. See you next week.